Hey everyone, welcome to this video. If you're watching this background footage of me making bread, you're probably thinking, wow, that looks peaceful. But if I'm completely honest with you, a few days ago, I was in a massive, terrifying chronic fatigue crash once again. And if you found me through my video about healing after a decade of chronic fatigue syndrome, you might be thinking, wait, I thought she was healed. And to be honest, so did I. I thought I at least had found enough recovery that kind of thing wouldn't happen to me anymore. But last week, the panic came rushing back, and I just fell straight into the old trap of chasing doctors, Googling symptoms, and forgetting every single mind-body tool that had actually saved me the first time. So today I want to talk about the messy, non-linear reality of healing. I just want to tell you what happened, how I forgot my own healing methods, and exactly how I'm going to try to pull myself out of this crash. I think the most important thing for me to say is, I don't have the answers. I don't know what chronic fatigue syndrome is. I spent 7 years not even accepting the diagnosis or looking for it, looking for other things until it just became so clear to me, this is what's going on with me. After listening to a million other people talk about it and doing a million, diagnoses of exclusion, meaning nothing else hit, and this was what was left, and it kind of sucked, as we all know, because there's no answers. There is no clear answer. There's some, oh, look at me showing off my starter. I named her. Her name's Apolline. It's French. Felt fancy. And I know some of you might be watching this stuck in a bed, and you see me standing up, moving around. And there's times I'm still stuck in bed, and there was a lot of years that most of my life was spent in bed, but I have never been completely bedbound. I am not a severe chronic fatigue sufferer. I would say I'm a moderate severe, moderate to severe at times, moderate to mild now. I think everybody's got a different trajectory, but what it's done is it's just really affected my life. There's just no doubt about it. I went from training for triathlons, on my feet, running, cycling, swimming. I also competed as a skateboarder for a lot of years. And to be honest, my dream since I was 6 years old was to be a professional athlete. So the fact that this illness, this chronic suffering has just completely stopped that dream. Now I'm 36 years old, and it's not even in my thought process, guys. Now if I can go for a walk, I feel really happy. But let's go back to the crash. Let's go back to the start, actually. I suffered. I spent a long time thinking, doctors were going to fix me, and then I gave up on that. If you've seen my original videos with my stories, I won't go into it too much, but I kind of just gave up and decided I was never going to get better. And then I lived a half-life for a lot of years, and then I had kids, and things just became unmanageable, and I had to find answers, and I was back doctor chasing, symptom chasing, going to pay for hormone tests and all these things that I couldn't really afford, to be honest. And this is me trying to find a razor blade to cut into my bread. And I don't know if you guys know, but that's something that you do so that the bread doesn't explode. And it was a very difficult task, so it's going to take me a little while here. Anyway, I eventually just, found Nicole Sachs and her mind-body work, and I still believe in it, and I still, try to practice it and listen to her podcast and all that, and it always is super helpful every time I do, but I'm not perfect, and I kind of fell away from it, and some stress came into my life. We have a huge potential remodel in the house that we really don't want to pay for, and it was just really stressing me out. My husband's been having to work a ton. I have 2 toddlers. I put a lot of pressure on myself to be their sole caretaker and not send them to school or daycare at all, and it just was all too much, and I found myself, and then I physically exerted myself, guys. I have a little trampoline that my kids can jump on, like a little rebounder. And I've crashed myself a million times with exercise. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to overdo it. I'm just going to let myself jump really lightly on this trampoline for as much as 10 minutes a day. Because even that, I tried to do a HIIT workout once on it for 15 minutes, and I crashed for a week. So anyway, leading up to this crash, had the stress of the remodel, and then I decided I would do a little more on the rebounder, and then I went stand-up paddleboarding at the lake, and I found myself in a pretty bad crash. And it was very, we're talking very mild stuff, guys, standing on a paddleboard and paddling for a couple minutes, and it wasn't much, but it was enough that my digestion stopped working again. I was exhausted. yeah, it was just, it was kind of devastating. It was that, it put me in that really dark place of like, I'm never going to be able to like, look, so I'm just going to be honest. I'm watching myself on screen. I'm overweight. I do not look the way that I wish I looked. And as someone who wanted to be an athlete, I feel very like inferior in my life a lot of the times. And I don't just want to exercise. Oh, by the way, baby girl, do you see that bread right there? That's the results that you get. I actually cut out most of the bread making footage because it was a lot. But yeah, I make bread. It's a lot of work actually to make sourdough. These are really easy sandwich loaves that you just saw on screen there, not the big round ones. Those take a lot more work actually. Anyway, this is me just tidying, guys. Like, I have little kids. There's always stuff everywhere. I keep my house super minimal. I keep my life very easy. My kids don't have a lot of stuff. They have books. They have a few toys out at a time. Most of it's away, and I rotate it so that I don't have to deal with it all at once. You know, I'm not depriving my children. I'm just making it so that I can function and be a happy mom who's not losing her mind. But anyways, you can see there's not a lot going on in the house. Actually, my friend just made that artwork and put it up on the wall. She's actually a very talented, famous artist, but I won't reveal her name just yet. Anyway, so I found myself in that crash. I found myself back looking for doctors again. Like, I don't know if you guys are in the chronic fatigue syndrome recovery world and listening to all the stuff I am, but like, people are talking, it's all about like mitochondria and just chronic illness in general. Just so, is something wrong with my mitochondria? Is it broken? What supplement do I need to take? What do I need to be doing for that? This is a kind of a crazy one, but actually someone pretty famous on Instagram just posted that she has chronic fatigue syndrome and she's getting surgery on her jugular. Like, I don't know enough about it to give specifics, but it has to do with like this theory, Paul, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I probably should have notes in front of me, guys, but it's basically like your circulation's not good and the veins around your neck are impacted by like the way your neck is shaped or something, and people are actually getting surgeries on their jugulars to increase their circulation to and blood flow to their brain to hopefully make them not as tired. Oh my gosh, guys, like, the fact is, if you told me that was going to make me better, I'd do it. I'm crazy. I think we all are. If you've gone through this, you'd do anything. But I just kind of know that, like, that poor lady's going to do this and she's probably not going to get better. And that's, like, so devastating. And that's why I make these videos, because, oh man, what a lonely, scary place it is to be chronically fatigued. And yeah, I went through a lot of hard times. You know, my life's a little more open now, but it's still pretty small. Like, I've been wanting to make these YouTube videos for like 14 years. And wait, is that right? No, that's not right. 2014 to now, it's 12 years. That's, yeah, right before I got sick is when I like found YouTube. Anyway, and I didn't do it for so long because I wanted the story to be a story of me getting better. And like, that first YouTube video I posted was like partially better. And I just realized, you know what I needed? I just needed someone to tell me what the F they were dealing with. Like, just these days, just the reality, just hearing the type of things I'm saying now of like how not straightforward it is. There isn't maybe an answer. And it's just kind of and for some people, like, that's amazing that they heal and it's 100% healing after, like, I hear so many, I know I complained about this in my first video, but so many people like, I was sick for 6 whole months, or I was sick for 2 whole years. And there's also ones where people talk about 30 or 40 years. And like, I hate that might be my story, but I always have hope that full recovery is possible. But what this video is really about is just being honest that managing symptoms is sometimes the reality, and remembering the mind body tools that I learned not too long ago, specifically from Nicole Sachs, but just, I mean, there's so many different tools out there and there's so many different resources about that. But basically the idea that the healing is like not outside my body. Actually, something I did hear on Nicole Sachs' podcast the other day that I thought was really interesting. The interviewee said that she basically started to recover when she kind of reframed her pain. She didn't have chronic fatigue syndrome in particular, but she had a lot of issues, to like, this is my body making boundaries because I couldn't make these boundaries myself. So the pain is a boundary. Like, it's, for me, it was a boundary against maybe over exercising and focusing on pleasing others. I don't, you know, I don't know the truth. I don't know the answers. I'm just here to say like what I've gone through, and maybe it'll glean something for your experience. And yeah, maybe it'll just be someone to hear who's dealing with like the same thing you're dealing with, because I certainly did not have that, and I still have never really in person ever met anybody with chronic fatigue syndrome. So it's lonely. It's a lonely world out there. But I realize so many people are suffering. Like I'll tangentially meet people all the time now, like, oh, my nephew has that. Or like I said, that lady on Instagram that's got many millions of followers finally saying like, oh, I have this and that's why I haven't posted or whatever. And to be honest, I think there's been a lot more since like, we're not supposed to talk about it. I guess we're not supposed to say the word or my video might get flagged or something. But that thing that happened in 2020 where everybody in the whole world stopped, anything to do with that gets a lot of like attention, I'll say. So long COVID, I'll just say the word, kind of it mimics, or in my opinion is the same thing potentially as chronic fatigue syndrome. I also think chronic fatigue syndrome could be post-viral and all those things potentially. I think those things can trigger it, basically. Like if you're already stressed or whatever and your mind body stuff's going on, and like you have just, it's just like the straw to break the camel's back, as they say. So, you know, I definitely had a little viral thing go on right before my most major crash. And so it's hard for me not to believe that there's something there. And yeah, anyway. It's just such a convoluted world out there dealing with chronic fatigue syndrome. And here I am just in my son's room, just trying to like quiet my home, just trying to create some peace. You know, it, like I said, chronic fatigue syndrome can leave us all feeling very overwhelmed. And like I said, I found myself overwhelmed, looking for doctors again, and it was hard to come back to. So I just realized that I was pushing too much again, and not actually my body was trying to create a boundary, like that lady said. It was trying to create a boundary, and God, she said something else, like I stopped being like a frantic child. Oh, I sniffed that to see if it was clean to put out for my son. That's his little sleep sack that he sleeps in. Helps him be cozy. Yeah, so she said something like just stopping the frantic searching like a little child for someone to fix me, like that someone outside of me had the answers, like mommy or daddy, basically, like doctor's gonna come help you. I think that idea of like your body setting boundaries and then like you trying to fix it by like, look, I don't know, it just all really clicked for me again, and just kind of relaxed back into my reality. And like I want to be careful to say like I'm not better. Like I'm still managing symptoms, and I think I wanted so badly to be better, and that's what my YouTube channel had to be about, and it's just not true. Like, I'm not better. I'm still managing symptoms all the time. I'm not stuck in bed anymore. I can do things, but it's almost like scarier in a way, because I can do things, but then I'm constantly like having to still work through that. Like, am I doing too much? Am I pushing and then crashing? And it's less frequent now, and the crashes are maybe a little easier to get out of. But yeah, this last one was kind of tough, and you know, a lot of pain came up. I get pain in my Achilles tendons. What a weird one. That started just a few years ago, or not even a few years ago. It started like, yeah, I guess it happened a few years ago too. Last year was when it really went down. Yeah, it just pain all over, the fatigue. For me, I have IBS-C, which is the constipation kind, if anyone knows about that. I mean, that's a metaphor. It's just so constipated with whatever is going on in my life that, yeah, I've got to clear it up. That's me checking the camera, because I really have no idea what I'm doing here, guys. This was the first time. I wanted to make videos that are more real, like show you my life. This is just an intro to it for me. I'd never taken my tripod around, and you know, I don't know what I'm doing. And you can tell I'm not the most vain person. I'm just no makeup, hair's just back in a ponytail. I think later in the video I don't even have a bra on, and I'm wearing pajama shorts. So, you know, look forward to that. It's just, I'm just trying to do what's real, what's like actually manageable in my life, and like cleaning my kitchen before I filmed so that it looked perfect, and like getting these amazing shots of me making sourdough. That's not me, and that's not what you're probably going to see here, maybe sometimes, but I'm just trying to give like the reality of somebody who is in the messy middle with chronic fatigue syndrome, someone who's had it for years and years and years. And there's a lot of storytelling I do to myself of like, how did this start? Like, how did I get here? That first video, and there's the My Story video up too. It does tell a lot about like how I found myself in chronic fatigue, suffering with that. But there's parts that I still am going back over. Like I wanted like a lot of times to make like a video or talk about like leaving corporate work and leaving hustle culture. And like, I do think if you have chronic fatigue, you do have to be real, and that world is potentially done for you. And it certainly is done for me. And I'll probably never go back, but it didn't make me sick in the sense that actually I was living in Italy, having a dream life that for most people, I was living in Rome. I was young. I just graduated college. I was working as an au pair, meeting wonderful, amazing people. That was my first real crash. It should have been an amazing time. And actually, the best I've ever felt in my adult life was when came back to America. Took a little while, let me be honest. I had like 8 months of unemployment and being completely lost and really still in that crash. And then I got a corporate job, and it just worked for me. Like that's when I started training again, and I was getting triathlon ready, and the job was blossoming, and I had meaning and purpose. So I wouldn't say that it's like, what I learned from those experiences that you can't just follow on paper like, oh, let me just move to Italy and everything will be better. And, oh, corporate work is evil and like sitting at a desk is evil. What I found is that like you need meaning and purpose and direction. And at least I do. And that when I don't have that, when I feel like I'm aimlessly going through life and I don't have a direction, my chronic fatigue flares. And so Italy for me was just kind of like this empty, like there was no, like just meaningless kind of connections with people that were fleeting that you make when you're young and you're like partying and like they're not going to last forever. I don't know, maybe I'm just too intense of a person, but they just didn't fill my cup. And I felt like I was chasing like a life that wasn't authentic to me. Like I didn't want to be like I didn't want to be somebody who just partied and like lived in Italy. That just wasn't it. And so going back to the States and like getting a job and like creating like just a community in one place, this actually really is an important topic for me, something that I haven't talked about on here because it didn't seem that relevant, but I have a weird kind of upbringing. My parents are from Italy. At least my mother was born there. My father's born here, but he's also 100% Italian. And they run like, let's say, an Italian nonprofit, like to like connect with your Italian culture. They teach Italian lessons. And I grew up traveling to Italy like multiple times a year. Like I've been to Italy more than 30 times, maybe more than 50 times, but a lot of times. And my own mom, I don't know if I should talk about this on the internet, but like she has chosen in her adult life to like stay there most of the time and like not be near us or her grandkids for half the time. And just kind of like not, I don't know, she just like, she isn't close to her kids, her husband, and my dad goes over there anyway, whatever. You guys don't need to know all the business, but it just seems really meaningless to me. And that might be too judgmental, but like, she'll like send us what she's doing and she's like meeting random people and going out to dinner and like drinking and whatever. And I think it's like La Dolce Vita, and it's a lot of it anyway, a lot of this informs my choices in life. So like, I grew up with everyone being like, how amazing, you've been to Italy so many times, like that's the dream, that's the goal. And so I went for the goal and I went to live there and I did it. And I learned Italian before I went because I actually didn't grow up speaking fluently because, full disclosure, those tours are taking tons of Americans over. So I'm on a tour bus sometimes as a little kid with 80 Americans. So, we're speaking English. Obviously my mom speaks Italian and she teaches Italian, so you think it would have picked up, but I wasn't fluent. So I got myself fluent. I lived there. I worked with an Italian family and I found myself super sick. And then I came back to America and I got a corporate job. And before I had my major crash, I was really thriving. A lot of things came to heads for that crash to happen, but that I talk about in some of my other videos. But yeah, it just was it was a big learning lesson for me of like, you need, like, of knowing who you are. Because I think for some people that's amazing and that life could work. And I I'm sure some people listening to this, like, wow, how privileged it is to say that that's whatever, like, that living in Italy is not the dream. But like, I don't live a super fancy privileged life. I live a pretty, here's my garage is pretty cool. Here it is, guys. You're looking at it. That's, our house isn't that big. So we've turned our garage into like a kid's playroom, a laundry room, a gym. It's kind of serves as everything. A lot goes on in there. I found that train table on the side of the road down the street from my house, and the chairs came with it. Got those. Yeah, anyway, most of the things in my life are secondhand. I'm very frugal. I've had to learn to be that way from chronic fatigue. Oh, I already know what's about to happen. I'm about to stick all of that in my shirt, which I knew I was doing on camera and was like, whatever, who cares? This is the real life here, people. Anyway, yeah, so I lived in Italy, and I was young. I was like 23, and I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea why I started to like not be able to wake up and was so exhausted. And I basically had to go to the host mom and be like, I have to go. I switched families first. I thought that might help, and it made it so much worse. The second family had a worse situation for me, worse setup, and like I like kind of crashed and burned in Italy and ran home. And it's one of the only regrets I have is that I didn't make that work. But I just, unfortunately, my health just didn't allow it, and I didn't know what was going on. So I kind of panicked myself out of there and ended up back home. And it took me a while to get back on my feet. Like I said, it was like, I don't know, 8 months or something of struggling until I, found that job. And I really blossomed there, and it felt so good. So it doesn't have to be, there is no like, the point of saying all that is there is no hard and fast rules in life. I think a lot of this journey, and why I think a lot of people, once they get better at least, or even during it, can say that they don't, like, they're grateful for their pain, is that it can teach us a lot. It taught me a lot. I think I lived without a lot of intention or a lot of thought for so many years. I just kind of was looking for other people's approval in everything I did without even realizing that, like, those people weren't even thinking about me. Those people didn't even really care about me. You guys, I think I've gotten a little way from the point. The point, I could talk and ramble about everything, and I think a lot of my videos might be that way. And if you want to listen, great. But the point being, like, I found myself in a crash again. I kind of had lost my direction. I let stress take over and really start to affect me again. And, my immediately knee-jerk reaction was, this is structural. I can't live the rest of my days like this. I need an answer. I need to get my doctor on board. I need to send them a huge long message about all the suffering that I've experienced, about everything that's happened to me. And then they're gonna help me. They're gonna get me to test my jugular and my mitochondria. And you know what, guys? I already know. I don't know where you are in your chronic fatigue, but I've been through it with these doctors. I hate it, but maybe if I spent my entire life dedicated and I had unlimited funds, it wouldn't hurt. Like, I've thought about that. If I won the lottery, like, I'm being real with you guys, I'm going to a doctor, I'm getting a lot more testing, and I'm doing things. But I made the choice that, like, I didn't want to give up my entire life to that, because that's what it was taking. It did. I gave 5 years to it and kind of found myself nowhere except learning what doctors do. You go in, you can over dramatize or be honest about your symptoms. And the only thing that these people can do for you is maybe give you some tests to give you an answer. But once you have that answer, the only thing they can do is hand you a pill. There's literally almost nothing else. If it's physical therapy, which for chronic fatigue doesn't sound like it's probably going to be the answer, it's almost always a pill. Maybe they can give you some ideas like pacing, which, you could have Googled that in 20 seconds. That's what I found, is anything that they're going to tell you is usually like pretty basic. Like, you could know it on, it's like the most, like, don't eat fried food if you have irritable bowel syndrome. Like, that's the type of information they're giving, because a lot of people they're seeing are maybe extremely like low income or uneducated, and they're just trying to help those people bridge that like first gap. But like, most of us already know that. Most people already know that. Maybe you don't, maybe you do, maybe I just told you. But yeah, if you got stomach issues, maybe don't eat fried food. Great. So I just wasn't getting anything from them. And I knew that that's all that was going to be there for me, was like just adding more stress to my life. And then like looking for answers outside of myself and like kind of disenfranchising myself from the truth. So here I am, just on a slow morning in my house. It's a little faster because I sped up the video so you didn't have to watch it all. But I just, this is what I do. I just am trying to, like, this is me. This is self-care for me now. I'm just happy I'm able to get up and do it and take care of my little home and make it nice. But I'm no longer, you know, I have to bring myself back constantly to not chasing answers. And you know, I'm hoping to make these videos maybe once a week and take you along as I figure things out and talk about chronic fatigue syndrome and other things I've learned, and hopefully I'll get more honed in how I deliver my message and it'll be clearer. Full disclosure, I'm sitting under a huge pink comforter over me and my computer so that the audio is better because I don't own a microphone. So hopefully that worked. All right, guys, this is the closeout. I'm closing the dishwasher. Do you see how smart I am to add that clip at the end? I'll miss you guys. Bye.